The Supreme Court Friday dismissed the suit by the People's Democratic Party asking for the disqualification of the ticket that produced the President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima in the 2023 presidential election. This is National Talk on ECWA Television International. My name is Joyce Jakada. Tonight on the program, we shall be beaming our light on the state of the nation as President Buhari hands over transition document to President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, 9th National Assembly to get 30.2 billion naira. Ahead of Nigeria's democracy, we're live on Facebook and YouTube at ECWA Television International. And to discuss this topic, I have Professor Elias Nankamp-Lanley in the studio. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening, viewer, and I hope everything is okay with you. Happy National Day. Thank you.
It's really glad to have you. The last time you were here, you were Dr. Elias Namli, and today you are Professor Elias Nankamp-Lanley. We are so happy and say a big congratulations to you.
Thank you very much, Joyce Jakada, and thank you to everybody.
All right, everything is gearing up for the inauguration, May 29th, and a lot of people, conversation here and there, people are talking on the state of the nation, so many activities, like currently at the national level. Today there was a national prayer at the national mosques, and then tomorrow Children's Day, like the day is set aside for children, and Sunday prayer at the church, and all these are activities ahead of the inauguration. And that's not just at the national level, even at the state level, the same activities is going on. But Buhari has handed over transition documents to the President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu and also confers on him the highest national honor, talking about the GCFR, and then for the vice presidential candidate, GCON. And he says he has run a good race, finished his course as a president, and it is now time for another person to take up the mantle. And he charged the president-elect as well as his vice to actually ensure that they lead with wisdom, courage, and compassion. He reiterated that the former governor of Lagos State has experience, capacity to lead. And Tinubu also, while accepting that, talked about the fact that he is going to deal with the issue of security as well as power crisis. Well, I just want to get your opinion on this handover of documents as well as these national honors.
You know, I'll start by an African proverb which says, "There are gamma lizards fall from a Iroko tree." When he looked left and looked right, and there was nobody to press him, he pressed himself. That's exactly what I think Buhari has done to himself. Because certainly, of course, no one will say Buhari has run a good race. A good race which transited us from a very high level of, to a very high level of poverty, from a state of certain degree of stability to a very high level of poverty. I mean, inflation went up in thousands, in leaps and bounds. And you say it's a good state? And the same thing, insecurity increased by leaps and bounds, and it's called that a good state. Poverty, apart from poverty, hunger has increased to a very, very large extent. We're much hungrier than we were some years ago. And, you know, you just name any form of vice Nigeria that people go through in the world. Nigeria is passing through it. Fortunate for us that we have a laissez-faire people who don't really matter. They just adopt and keep adopting. If this happens anywhere in the world, of course, the Arab Spring should tell you that if this happened anywhere in the world, Nigerians are not able to stand this issue. There could have been a national crisis already. But then because we are very laissez-faire, so we adopt everything, we change like the chameleon. But you see, it's just like the frog. You know, when you put a frog in warm water, as the temperature goes up, the frog keeps going up together with the temperature, bringing out its temperature to meet up the high level of temperature. But when it reaches a certain point, it cannot jump out of the water again. That's when crisis sets in. So for Buhari to say he has run a good race, I imagine whether he understands the essence of that with those words at all. A good race where you place the educational system in a very, very terrible situation as we are today. Today, you can't say that you have education in this country. And I'm telling you, the bad side of it is that you're taking out an exodus of billions out of this country to brain drain that is going on. Almost every professor in this country is looking forward to go out. Because you can't stay in a situation where you can't even eat, talk more of being able to work well. So you see, Buhari saying that statement is wonderful. I mean, I don't know what is wrong with our leaders. Can't we say something truthful one day? If for him to say, look, I have failed, it could have been better. I have failed. That was not what I told you people. That was not what I did. I told you I'm going to reduce the naira back to about 1 naira per dollar. I failed it. He could have listed all the things that he did and he failed. That could have given him much more higher credibility than the lies. At that age, he's lying like that. Then what do you expect the younger ones to do? We're destroying our country. We're destroying the fabric that actually holds the society together. Buhari cannot make that statement. It's very unfair. Unfair to the country. Unfair to unfair to the whole world for Buhari to make that statement. Because he makes it look as if being evil is good. Being bad to people is good. And look at the state of the country in terms of the political gerrymandering. It's so much that today hoodlums have taken over our political space. And you say you've done something good. So why is Buhari saying that? Why is he saying that? Coming to the issue of talking about the governance, did Buhari ever govern? When he's always found outside the country, when he's always going for medical checkups, what were the amount of time he left this country for medical checkup? And how many times did he actually make sure they supervise issues in this country? How many times did he change bath and airing ministers? These are issues that has to do with the issue of property. That has to do with the issue of dealing with corruption. How did he even deal with the corruption he said he was coming to deal with? He never did. He increased the maximum of corruption in this country. I mean, it's so bad that there were some allegations. Somebody I overheard somewhere, I can't tell you it's authentic, that a lady was given some amount of money to run a ministry, and because the lady actually did not compromise to the so-called desires of the minister actually wanted the lady removed and removed the lady, and then placed another person that was supposed to compromise together with them, and the person brought in the money for them. And at the time, the person was so angry, he said, no, this thing is going to be a problem for me. He reported the issue that, look, I am tired. I don't want this money to be sent under me. And that was the last thing the person was saying. So you see, we are so corrupt in this country. The corruption, the highest level of corruption you can ever think of. Nigeria is at the lowest ebb of corruption that has ever been in this. So why would Buhari say that?
I was really concerned earlier on when I was going through the paper, and then I saw some Nigerians expressing, oh, we're going to be remembering the president for statement like lazy youth. We're going to be remembering the president for the fact that at a point we had to buy naira. So we're mentioning a lot of this banditry among others. I was just wondering, oh, aren't there some things that positive things to actually, even though some people have mentioned the Niger, the railway and all of that. But again, my concern now is this national honors that he has conferred on the president-elect, GCFR, and on the president-elect, and then Shetima, GCON. Even though Shetima is not, the GCFR is only for the president, such honors, but the GCON, we have the likes of Dangote, Mike and Denuga having that honor. And you know, national honors such as these are honors that you can't really take away from these people. And at a time where case is still in the court, like, do you think it's really right for such honors to be conferred?
I mean, it's even wrong to confer an honor on a person who has not even worked to get the honor. On what ground was he conferring that honor? That Shetima was a very good governor? Or that Bola was a very good governor? Or that Bola has become a president and has performed so much that he should be honored on that kind of level? So you see, already there's a lot of deception going on there. Deception because you can't tell me that because Bola Tinubu, he's trying to buy his way out, let me say it. Because some of us knew that a lot of people felt that he was not in support of Bola Tinubu coming. So it's like, how can I buy my way? He conferred it. And you know, national honors are on people that should portray the image of the country to the international world. What image are we portraying? What record does Shetima have? What record does Bola Tinubu have? There are a lot of allegations. I can't prove it. I'll just speak as a scholar because it's my duty to give comments on it. Of course, there are a lot of allegations against Bola Tinubu on drugs. There's a lot of allegations against what do you call him, Shetima, on insurgency. So you are conferring national honor then because of those things, or what? On what reason are you conferring those national honors on? So it tells the confusion that it's actually in the presence of the president himself. Why? Because look at it now. Look at the issue of money policy that he changed the money overnight. And then he said the money should be changed overnight. And he doesn't know the implication of that on the economy. When you change money and there's no money in circulation, of course, the economy goes down. Our economy went into depression because there was no much good policy for people to advise them on how to go about issues. So our policies went down. The same thing also happened in COVID-19. I can tell you how he depressed the economy by ensuring that our people were not ever anything that will help us to grow in terms of economic growth. So there is so much confusion in the present. That's why the same confusion ends up with a national honor. Another confusion again. What are you honoring for? What are you honoring them for?
The President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, actually, after accepting the baton of leadership, which shows that governance continues, also made a speech saying that, oh, I'm promising to deal with the issue of security and power crisis. So he has come to recognition that these things live with us, but he's promising that I'm going to deal with these issues. But don't you think this gives hope to Nigerians?
Show me a president in Nigeria that did not say that. Show me one that did not say, I'm going to deal with security. I mean, the question, to be exact to you, a military man, a military strategist like Buhari could not deal with the issue of security. How? He's a tactician there. How can someone who is a trader like Tinubu come and say he will deal with security? On what grounds? Does he even understand? Right structure. Well, we cannot say because, of course, you see that in Ukraine. But Ukrainian President Zelensky was young. That's why, and then Ukrainian president is not actually acting alone. Europe is there behind him to give him the support and to make him to push. Who is behind Buhari? Who is behind Tinubu? When America is actually, there's allegation in America of drug issues around him. So you see, that the issue of understanding the structure on how to rule is not even there. They don't even understand it. So Bola Tinubu is making an empty promise. I am telling you from my analysis as a conflict manager that there's a tendency that we are going to have much more conflict than it is now.
Well, again, the presidents at some point recently, while receiving some Abuja Muslim residents on a visit, like Salah visit, he said he can't wait to return to Daura. He can't wait to go there. But he said when he's disturbed with noise, he's going to move to Niger Republic, and that has generated a lot of reactions and mixed feelings. Some say obviously this shows disinterest in the current economic challenge, ranging from insecurity, the decline in our economy, to the widespread of corruption. If a president is saying, if I retire home, if I'm disturbed, I'm going to move to Niger Republic because I know I'm going to be accepted, do you align yourself with that comments of saying, oh, it shows disinterest, or you think it's right to say I should go and rest?
I wish it could be as simple as disinterest. The reality behind it is that it shows that a lot of allegations against him are right. Take an example. A lot of people allege that he's from Niger. So he has not proven to them that he has a residence in Niger. Is the president permitted to go and build a house or stay in Niger? Why is he able to tell us that? He's telling us that he has packed money to Niger, Abi. Why would he survive in Niger? He's supposed to survive in Nigeria. One. Two, it shows us that there is this conspiracy theory where people think that he's conspiring to ensure that this part of the Nigeria is taken and mixed up with Niger to become a caliphate. That's what he's saying. Because that conspiracy theory might actually be thing that people will begin to think that it's true. Why should you send a lot of money to go and construct a railway between Nigeria and Niger? What does it add to the economy of the country? When, of course, there are many, many different parts of this country that are not having railways, that are not connected. Because our railways are made in such a way that we only take everything to the ports. That the colonial leaders did that, of course, to keep us separated. And then you are now going to make a whole railway from Nigeria to Niger, spending billions of our money. What does it add to us? Why can't you make the same railway to other countries? Why not Cameroon? Why not other places? Why Niger? And why are you not talking about Niger? I thought you will retire there. It shows the high state of callousness that a person who came there on the ticket of Nigerians give him the opportunity. He's so callously telling us that he will go back to Niger. So we should go become refugees and go to Niger. Yeah? I mean, it's so annoying. It is extremely annoying. Our leaders I don't know whether it's because they have no capacity to think or what. They don't have the gumption to think that, what am I saying and what is it having impact on the people? How are the people going to react to it? How would they feel? A hungry man, you're telling me you're going to live in Niger. Okay, you've put enough money there in Niger to take care of yourself. I mean, let's be very candid. That's a big problem. And I'm telling you, it tells of the integrity of the president. And one would expect that when you are close to the grave, you should be able to tell the truth. But Buhari is doing what? Is the opposite of the
Well, again, the 9th National Assembly had to get 30.2 billion severance package as they exit their 4 years tenure. But before we go into that discussion, I would just like us to go on a quick break. When we return, we go into the discussion about the 30.2 billion severance package for the 9th National Assembly. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Make your everyday informative, make your everyday count. Know your world, daily affairs, national and international, with authentic news events as they unfold on Global News and Zoom on Nigeria, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m.
Hello viewers, my name is Amaka Ocheke. We anchor the program, The Living Room, right here on ECWA TV International.
You are welcome to watch us every Monday.
The Living Room is a very interesting family program where we discuss everything you want to know about family.
Talk about our children's mental health.
Keep watching. Our program is always here, 5:30 every Monday. We want you to ask questions. We want you to phone in and drop topics that you want us to talk about, even on our media handle on Facebook. We're there. So keep watching, keep listening. The Living Room.
Democracy is the theory that common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. Join me every Friday, 7 p.m. on National Talk for analysis as well as in-depth perspective on issues as they unfold in and around Nigeria, as well as an opportunity to add your voice. Thank you for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, this is National Talk on ECWA Television International. And alongside Professor Elias Lamley, we've been discussing the state of the nation. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you, viewers.
All right, talking about the 9th National Assembly, as their exit package, they are expected to share 30.2 billion naira severance package. This is not a new policy. It has been in place, even though after every 4 years, you always hear about that, and Nigerians continue to complain about dropping the cost of governance, considering the people and the need of the people. When you talk about poverty, when you look at educational system, when you look at the health sector, amongst other things, people have come out to say, oh, governance is about the people. Why do we say, oh, we don't have money, and yet we keep seeing our leaders or politicians sharing humongous amounts of money? And again, just as this administration wraps up as the 4 years or 8 years for some people, 30.2 billion severance package is expected to be shared among the lawmakers. For the president of the Senate, is supposed to go with 7.45 million naira. And then for the deputy Senate, 6.9 million naira. For the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is expected to go with 7.43 million naira. And the Deputy Speaker, 6.86 million naira. The remaining lawmakers are expected to go with 5.9 million naira each. And then again, they have some other things like cars and their cars, this both for themselves and their aides, they are expected to go with it, and in total is worth like 5.5 billion naira. Some people have raised concern, a country that barely has per capita income and all of that. When you come to poverty, we have some of the poorest in the country. Like the debts we have currently is quite worrisome. A lot of people are at the IDP, some are displaced and are yet to be returned to their community or to their family members. So with all of these challenges, and we're still saying that such humongous amount of money is expected to be shared for the 8th National Assembly, I think this 30.2 billion is higher than that, with about 7 billion naira. So I don't know, what do you make of this severance package?
I will call that robbery. It's robbery. They are robbing the country by bits and bones. To be candid with you, the question we'll ask yourself is that which country gives severance allowances for its legislators? And if they give it, is that the amount of money that they give? If you put that plus the per capita income, that is more than robbery. It's stealing by the highest bond you can ever think of. It's wrong. Very wrong for us to take that. It's the problem. That's why we have conflict. Elections will always be full of conflict, because by the time that you go into any of the houses, you are already a billionaire by Nigerian standard. Whether by crook or by anything, you are going to get a lot of money. And when you get a lot of money, why can't I kill? Because with just one leap, you are out of poverty with one leap. So why can't I kill? Why can't I commit more conflict in going into the house? The amount of money that is too huge, to be candid with you. It's not even something that one will even comment before you can know that it's wrong. There's something wrong about this country. Systemically, we have a problem of image, self-image. Most of the people that go into our politics are people who don't have a good thinking at all. They are people that actually you can say that they lack morals. When I mean a moral, I don't look about morality between man and woman, but moral in terms of understanding that, look, this is the way to go about life. Allow the people to be the people that should decide what they want to do for their country. For example, the people have complained that is wrong, yet you are still doing it. Nigerian governance is even more costly than American presidency. The amount of money used for governance in this country is too much. And our problem is not because we don't have money, but because the money is going to the wrong hands. And then we are accumulating a lot of debt for ourselves. Buying in a lot of debt, putting the country into more slavery, because it's very clear biblically, of course. You get some credit for somebody, you become a slave to the person. And so we are enslaving ourselves. Not that the Western world is enslaving us, but we are now enslaving ourselves, putting ourselves in that stage where we are putting the whole country, the future of the younger generation, and everybody into slavery. When will all this debt be paid? And yet you are taking that amount of money and giving to yourselves to go and do all with it. And interestingly, let me tell you one thing. Money has flight. They go with this money, give them only a few amount of months, and they will become very poor like everybody. Because why? Money must go and produce money before money can stay. If money goes in and produces no money, it will fly. Money has wings, so says the Bible. So it will fly away. So they'll collect this money and then they'll go and be wasting it because they've developed a test. And as the test will continue, of course, after they become legislators, after they leave there, and then they'll be finding the money just disappearing and they'll become so poor. Many of them end up very, very poor because that is people's sweat you are going with. And if you have people's sweat, of course, sweat has a way of getting back, draining itself back to the people who are supposed to be taken care of. And interestingly, you know one thing, self-image is a problem. Nigerians don't know that you can make any amount of money you can, but history will not even give you a good name by the time you are gone. For example, who will remember Abiola today? Hardly would you see anybody remembering a person called Abiola. Hardly in a generation. They'll say, we don't even know him. But today, you can remember Cyprian Ekwensi. You can remember people like Chinua Achebe. These are people that left their legacy based on their capacity as their human development potential. But Nigeria is not developing human development. We're developing pocket development. And pocket development has a way of going down. And so if you want to leave a legacy, it's not the amount of money you leave. It's, of course, the amount of people you are able to affect with whatever you are doing. And
you talk about because leaders don't have morals. And I think that's got my attention. I know that Nigeria is one of the countries with the highest paid parliamentarians.
Yep.
And then alongside other packages, car allowance, wardrobe allowance, amongst many others, like you said earlier on, why won't people kill to get there? We saw that during the 2023 election, just on the day of the election, there were people that were killed.
Yeah.
And people want to get to that position, do or die, because they feel, oh, when I get there, whatever I spend at the end of the day, I'm going to. But now I want to look at it from the side of the people, because these people are elected by Nigerians. Some of them are elected by Nigerians. This is, or it's assumed that all of them, they are actually elected by Nigerians. And you talk about morals. Now, there's also the place of expectations, high expectations on these politicians. And no wonder you go to some of their houses, you see people trooping in. Different invitation cards. Oh, we need this amount of money from you. Don't you think this action of high expectations on these people without holding them accountable contribute to this? Because it's more like your concern is not about what our primary responsibility, but what we can give to you. Don't you think such actions of high expectation rather than accountability, asking for accountability, contributes to having leaders without morals, or we going to the ballot and then voting people without morals, that at the end of the day they take some of these decisions or they assent to some of these policies without thinking of the interests of the people?
I'll give examples, two things. Number one, Hitler's issue, and two, the fact that if you can enslave people, you can rule them. Hitler said, if you want people to follow you, you must first of all make them hungry. And that is how our leaders have done that. They make sure that the people are made hungry. Machiavelli said the same thing. When you are able to make the people hungry and you make them poor, they become rulable. So our legislators, our members of the House of Representatives, and in fact the political class, has had to disempower the local people so that they can be running after them. So that they will become like the demagogues. They can decide what to do with who and whatever at any place. So you look at it very well, you discover that it is clearly the people who have been marginalized to the point that they have become slaves. They have become hungry. A hungry man is what? Looking for food to eat. If he goes to a house and he can get food to eat, he forgets the fact that, of course, he needs to sustain that food eating. He would prefer to go to you and worship you and get whatever he can get from you. So it is the people who have been driven by poverty that they go back to the people and say, okay, fine, you have taken our resources, we need some of them. And the political class has ensured that this poverty rate increases by the day to make them become demagogues to the electorates. Votes are being bought. Votes are being bought. If you don't buy votes, you can't even win election in this country. So by virtue, are we having election? No, we're having selections. People have been selected to come to wherever they're supposed to be, and they are there. And then the second thing about the fact that the political class say, okay, fine, we're not going to allow the people to enjoy themselves. Fine, good. Now the people say, okay, you do not allow us to enjoy ourselves, you will not sleep. So they come there, they knock 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 in the morning. They are always in your house. Till 12 midnight, they are there. By the time you are going to sleep by 5, 4, some people have already come waiting for you. So it is the political class that has created that kind of situation where the people have become slaves to them. And because they have slaves to them, they can't sleep. These people keep coming on them by the day. So productivity is actually very low. And this happens mostly in the north. If you go to the south, you hardly see that. They don't do that in the south because there's productivity. People in the south actually likes to go and do something trading. But we in the north, what do you get? We're all becoming like Almajiri, going through the house of these people most of the time and getting all these things. But then we need to be productive. If you are productive, you don't need to go into anybody's house. You produce yourself. And then when the political class bring whatever they bring, you buy from them. I know of a young man that I met somewhere in the bush. This young man is small, he's 28 years, 29 years. He has over 700 cows. And he did not steal. He farms yam. He has over 30 to 300,000 heaps of yam. He doesn't go anywhere. He's in the bush there with his people and he's doing his work. He's getting a lot of money. He's a billionaire. But then we don't want to do that. We stay in the cities and we are producing nothing. So we become political and we troop into the house of politicians to be able to get to survive. And because they've made us to become people who are under them, they use us wherever they want to use us and they dump us when they want to dump us. That's why the political class will tell you, by the Guganda implying that it is not the same pan that you use to produce the well that you use to drink water with. People are just expendable. They can be used and dumped.
That was a powerful one. But again, I'm just concerned about the steps to take, because when you see what is happening in our nation today, especially at the leadership level, the National Assembly is supposed to be the voice of the people. If it is not about the people, then like it won't go. But what you see is more like like reverses the case, more about personal interest. Personal interest, that's what people are driven by. And we cannot continue on this trajectory. How can Nigerians utilize the recalling of like their members that are not actually representing them or airing their voice? Like you said earlier on, you referred to the 30.2 billion there as robbery of our democracy, because democracy is supposed to be about the people. So we should be talking about development in education. We should be talking about development like in projects. We should be talking about safety of the people. We should be talking about improvement in the health sectors, amongst others, because these are areas where, of course, the average man on the street will definitely benefit from. But most of the time when it comes to the educational sector, you see like strike has become like an annual event where you go outside this country now, you keep seeing that our own Nigerians are contributing greatly to the GDP of other countries, contributing to their educational system, what can even sustain even the local students. Now, how can we, what's the way forward, looking at these decisions and policies that people go to the house and they keep enacting or assenting to that does not benefit the people?
To be exact to you, when I was doing my PhD abroad, I had this euphoria of saying I'm coming back to the country to contribute and change the narrative. But it's almost a helpless situation. Because when I came back and I looked at the country, with the contemporary situation that we found ourselves, it will be very difficult to change the narrative. Difficult because even children, as young, as small as they are in their mother's wombs, sometimes are even oriented on corruption. How do you change the narrative like that? It's almost a situation where I'm feeling hopeless. Even though because I believe there's God, of course I would say that Nigeria is hopeless. Of course. But then God exists on the throne. And the only thing is for us to start praying, asking God to help us if you can in any form. And in fact, we should be doing like most prophets say, tear our clothes and put on garments of sacks and run around, push ashes on our body and say, God help us. If not, tell me, how could you, for God's sake? Human value has already gone down. The younger generation are not even looking forward to having anything that will give them a difference. They are looking forward to continue with the narrative the way it is. Some have got it is now our duty. So one. Two, we need let me be a bit flabby. We need a reorientation. Because to me, the narrative in this country is not actually a local issue. It has an inbuilt mechanism. There are already inbuilt mechanisms that are triggered on to create the situation that we found ourselves in. Class mechanism, differences in terms of class. Leadership mechanism, differences in terms of leadership. Ethnic mechanism, religious mechanisms. These are mechanisms that are already imparted and they're placed there. They are only kicked to make sure that it's used to create the situation that we found ourselves. So how can you change these narratives when these things are already existing there? It will take a revolution. It's not impossible anyway, but it will take a real revolution. I know, interesting, let me tell you one thing. 1984, I was still in Nigeria. It took only a diabomb. I will not say Buhari now because Buhari has proven he was not the one. It took a diabomb to change this country in just one day. That time it was confusion. When you come to buy sugar, you buy anything, things were scarce. When you come to buy anything, people will just be confusing and they'll be running around. But just when Idiagbon and Buhari took over, at that time, one day Nigerians learned how to line. Just one day change. So we have a capacity. What we need is leadership. We need a very high level of concentrated leadership that has a focus. Because our leaders have no focus. Buhari had no focus. He came in there. All I know about Buhari was that he was coming there he came there to drink tea. He don't even care what the ministers were doing. The ministers were living their lives and deciding what to do with the people. So it was like anarchy was set on this country. Mere anarchy was set on this country. We're living in an anarchic situation with Buhari. Everybody did what he wanted to do. And that's why sometimes Buhari will say, I did not even know that petrol has gone to 160 something naira. I mean, you're a whole president, you say you don't even know that petrol has gone that much. Why? Because he does not know. And there are many other things he did. I don't even know that people are actually on strike. So it tells you that he was actually sleeping. He was actually the lazy boy. Not the youth. The youth were not lazy. Nigerians are very good. They're hardworking. But Buhari was a lazy guy that did not actually work. So we need a change in ideals of leadership. We need a reduction in the cost of governance. Today I say it. If you reduce the cost of our governance by just 50%, you reduce our conflict by almost 70%.
Well, our phone lines are now open for you to call and add your voice to the conversation. We're talking about the state of the nation. What is your take on the conversation? Do well to call us. Our phone lines are now open. Well, let's talk about Nigeria's democracy. As far as Nigerians are concerned, May 29th is a significant date because that was when power shifted from the military regime down to democratic rule, where the people have opportunity to go and elect who represent them at whatever level. Now, drawing from 1999, when the power was handed over to a civilian government, would you say democracy have come to stay, considering the fact that democracy is actually about the people knowing who they want, going for it, and that's being done or being put in place? Would you say that from 1999 today, democracy have come to stay? Is it strengthened?
I would not say that democracy has come to stay. What I will say definitely is that militocracy has come to stay. What I mean by militocracy is, I wrote in one of my books, which I wrote about democracy. It's a global book that looked at democracy from all different perspectives, democracy and conflict. In one of my books, I said, Nigeria does not have democracy, right? It has a military setting where decisions are made by a group of the select few who decide what to do, and then they send the remaining out to the others. Look at the people who are into our democratic setting. Most of them are soldiers. Today, senators are soldiers. Today, governors are soldiers. Today, so military regime has come back to turn itself in a different perspective and go into political circle. Those who are living in politics are actually people who have no sense. Most of our people that are in politics are people who lack a certain degree of sensibility. Because if you have a certain degree of sensibility and you know that beyond the life you are living, there's a life afterward, won't you actually take a more sensitive area than to take this continuous saying where you dictate to people what you want the people to follow, and then you just live by it? I mean, democracy has not come to stay in this country. Militocracy has come to stay. We are living in a half military regime, half democracy. So military plus democracy equals to militocracy. But because democracy is the virtue of the people, the government of the people, by the people, for the people. But this, we're having a government of politicians, by politicians, and for politicians. So where's democracy there?
That's a big question, a very vital one. Where is the democracy just when we are counting days to May 29th? Well, let's have our phone numbers displayed on the screen so that our viewers can call and add their voice to the conversation. Now, we've had, when you talk about democracy, it's just like opening a privilege for people to have a say. And we've had elections. I think we've had one of the, I think the longest period, there's no interruption, like for almost 20 years, over 20 years, democratic rule and all of that. Elections have been taking place. But I'm more concerned about the process that brings people to power. Do you think that we are doing well in that area, or there are still lapses that there's need to step up and become better?
To be candid with you, the process is becoming much, much more problematic. At the time, of course, we have a certain degree of elections. But now we don't have elections. We only have selections based on the capacity of the person with the highest of money can buy his beats. I was there during this last election where they brought in money, sat down, and as you cast, if you try to talk, the talk will beat you up. They will cast vote. You say, I cast, you sure I casted for PDP or for APC or for YNPP or for whichever party. When you do that, you go to the agents and then they will give you money and you put it in your pocket and you go. It has reached that point where those things are happening all over the place. All over. It will reach a point where we will reach a point where it will be very difficult for one to even talk about voting, where they could just dictate and just say, this is the amount of people, this is the thing that happened. I mean, let me give you an example of Plateau State. Before even the election was done, results were already announced. So the process is becoming terribly muddled up with so much inefficiencies, so much lies, and so much that it's hard to say that we're having any process at all, if there is. We can only announce the date, of course, it's going to take place. We're going to have election on this day, but what does happen on that day? There's no election. It's purchase. The highest bidder takes it. That's all. So the process is becoming much more. I'm
think
telling
we
you,
have a
it's
caller.
hopeless.
Sorry to cut you. We have a caller.
And I want to say that what they are discussing is actually in line, and then the people are actually not feeling the impact of the democracy as it's expected to be. So we are praying that God should bring in the incoming administration to see that the people who are actually suffering to have a need to feel that the government is working. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. He's saying that people are not feeling the impact of democracy in Nigeria, and he's hoping that the incoming administration will do something that the people feel that impact. Well, you can go on with your point.
I mean, there's no how you can say the process is becoming better. The process is actually going into a state of hopelessness, much more hopeless than before. And it will reach a point where they will just go and announce, look, this person has been elected. Doesn't matter. How can you tell me?
Okay, we have a caller from Imo State. Hello, good evening. Welcome to National Talk.
Sir?
Go ahead, make your contribution.
Hello? Yeah. I want to contribute to the discussion going on the television
Go ahead.
concerning democracy in Nigeria and the ills of what is going on all through. The detail there is saying exactly, yes, what Nigerians have suffered. But my question is, why is he saying this now, just 3 days before the handover? Why is it that his observation we are not been hearing, been saying out all these days? And in 3 days, he's trying to tell Nigerians what they know already practically. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling from Imo State. He's saying I think the president saying what he's saying 3 days to the handing over. Why didn't he mention all of this all the while? Thank you for calling and thank you for that contribution. You can go on, please.
So the process is becoming really, really hard for us to understand. It's hard for one to say that. I lived elsewhere, so I can tell from my experience elsewhere. You know, the electronic voting that we talk about could have served very well if we had actually effected it. I lived in Belgium where elections are called on. By 9 o'clock, election starts, and by 11, the results are announced. Because everybody is able to text in his choice.
Sorry to cut you.
What's going on right now on the television?
Go on, please. I can hear you.
Hello.
Go ahead. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening, lady and gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is Engineer Prince Will. I'm calling from Abakaliki, Ebonyi State.
Go ahead with your contribution. I think we lost that call. Please, when you call us, do well to turn down the volume of your TV. We would like to hear your take on what we're discussing. So kindly call us, turn down the volume of your TV set or move away from it so that we can save time. You can go on, please.
So you see, our process is modeled up with so much corruption. So much corruption that elections are decided on the date, not based on the minds of the people. Whoever can bring the highest amount of money takes away the election. And he can pay his way through because he knows he can recoup back his money. So if we reduce the amount of money used for governance, especially that there is surveillance allowance, you reduce it down to the lowest barest minimum. Salaries reduced to the barest minimum. I mean, nobody will go and pay money for things that you cannot. Let me ask you a question. Okay, fine. The Nigerian president collects how much as his salary? When you compare what APC plays as the cost for forms for presidency under APC, for
Okay, the
example.
caller is back, Engineer Prince Will. Sorry to cut you. Go ahead, Engineer Prince Will.
Yes. When we talk about democracy here, it's the demons that are crazy that are in charge.
Well, we will not take name callings. Kindly mind your languages.
Demons that are crazy. Because This is where you can never be sure of any election. You have a cabal that determines what happens in this country. All of us are prisoners of war. Prisoners of war. Yes, we have been conquered. Only very few have voice in this country. Otherwise, what has been going on in this country, we are being turned into a banana republic. A banana republic.
Please round up your thoughts, please.
Where anything.
Thank you. Well, he's saying we're almost like a banana republic. A lot of people don't have voice, just a few, more like selections among other things. Thank you for calling, even though he said it's not democracy, but demons are crazy and all of that. Please, let's be civil with our languages. Please go on.
So I was talking about the APC, for example. Let me not even mention. A party just slotted this. The amount of money used to buy the forms is much more than the amount of salary that the president will receive for the 4 years. So where do you want him to get the remaining? The remaining amount of money, you pay about 100 million. How much does the president get for 4 years? That you say you must place for 100 million as a money for buying the forms. So with that alone, you've instituted corruption into the country. Because if the person becomes president, of course, he must recoup not only his 100 million, but others together. Where does he get it from? From corruption. So corruption is instituted already in the system of the political parties. They are instituted by corruption. It's there already inside it. That's why I say that the only way out is maybe a revolution. So the process is already daunted. And of course, if you have a daunted a situation where the policies and the ways by which a process of things is done, that's how you can expect good results. It doesn't like that. You can't sow banana and then you want to expect that you reap naira. You have to sow naira to reap naira. So the process is already doubtful and problematic. So you can't expect anything good to come out of that kind of a process at all.
Well, there has been concern about the loan request by the president just a few days before the exit. Some talk about the burden on the next generation, even though he has come out to defend some of these decisions, saying that he needed to execute the project and he can only do that by borrowing for some of these projects. Are you concerned about the
question is that who asked him to execute the project? Of what importance is that project to the national development? Or what importance is that project to the people? Why must it be executed at that time? How will he execute the project with that kind of money at that time? How will he take that? It's just a matter of saying that you want to get money for yourself. Because you can't take that and go and execute any project with it at that time that he was looking for the loan. So let us be very candid. Who is fooling who? There's nothing you can tell that the president will say that that amount of money is going to execute project. How will he, when he is planning? Okay, it's because we live in a banana republic, like somebody said. So of course you can stand up and you need to make decision and say, okay, I cite a television station here, I cite radio station there, I cite this one there, and you put it, and then you begin to go, and then of course it's cited by the mouth, but there's nothing in reality. If not, there's no need for the president to have made such a request and to have that kind of money and to use that kind of money at all. There was no basis of that. He was going out. Why was he requesting for that kind of loan? And it's loan. It's not even that he has the money. Abba. What are we going through?
Well, Mondays, a lot of people are expected to be inaugurated by May 29th, and then at state level, we've seen how that people are gearing up with a lot of activities. And even though some people are expressing worry, this should have been allowed to slide until the court makes its final judgment, because there are a lot of petitions, there are a lot of suits in the courts. But then by Monday, May 29th, there's going to be inauguration. And just today, the Supreme Court actually dismissed the suit by PDP against the APC vice presidential candidate about double nomination, referring to it as misleading, because they said as of July of 2022, the vice presidential candidate had dropped that ambition, and before going that, so they said it was misleading and they dismissed that. So ahead of May 29, ahead of the inauguration, because our time is already fast spent, what's your final take?
I mean, ahead of the inauguration, I'm sorry that it's the inauguration of hopelessness. We're not going to have any hope yet until we see things on ground. The dog said, oh, there's a party in my house. Yeah, it's beautiful, but I need to see it on the ground, in the bones I eat on the ground. So it's inaugurate whatever you can inaugurate. As far as I'm concerned, it's another waste of resources. But then, until we see democracy in its instituted form, where people, there's certain degree of collective interest being engaged, then of course you can be sure that we'll expect anything good out of it. But for now, it's a hopeless situation, very hopeless.
Especially considering the killings
Yeah,
ongoing
the
across
killings going on, and
in Nigeria.
and especially Plateau, of course.
We just hope that the needful will be done. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
creating
very
time
much.
to
Thank
spend
you
with
very much,
to talk
audience.
with us.
Thank you
Great
very much.
analysis always. Thank you. And to our viewers out there, thank you so much for staying with us on National Talk tonight. Do remember, change begins with you, and you can do that by electing, going out, doing the right thing, and then voting for the right people. And when you see that things are not going on well, do know that you have the right to recall who is not representing you well. Nigeria is our nation, is a great nation. Together we can make it work. Until we come your way next week with another edition of National Talk, you have a blessed weekend.